And admit all.
Got it. All right, welcome everyone to the Envision Hanover Virtual Open House. We'll go ahead and get started. I am Andrew Pompey, the project manager for Envision Hanover, which is the current effort to update Hanover County's comprehensive plan. As part of tonight's meeting, I will give a presentation regarding the comprehensive plan and the current process to update it. Afterwards, there will be a Q&A session, and we'll end the meeting by 7 p.m. We have a couple of tips for participating, which are on this slide. The meeting is being recorded and will be available afterwards online, so you can go back and watch it, or you can share it with others that might be interested. Please remain muted during the open house. You can ask questions in the chat, and the moderator will share those questions with the project team after the presentation is complete during the Q&A session. If you're having any technical problems, you can use the chat to message Will Cockrell, or you can send him an email address or send an email on the address listed on the screen. So the comprehensive plan update is a collaborative process that involves a wide variety of stakeholders and addresses many different issues. There's a team of staff members that are working to coordinate this process. EPRPC, a planning firm based in Charlottesville, is also assisting with the project. The project team has extensive experience working on comprehensive planning, both here in Hanover County and with other localities throughout Virginia and beyond. The list of core team members from both the Hanover County Planning Department and EPRPC is on the screen. Personally, I'm very excited about this project team because they have a lot of experience working on comprehensive plans and long-range planning issues, again, both here in the county and beyond. They're all passionate about working with you all to create a high-quality plan that reflects sound planning principles and the community's vision. Will Cockrell, who's the project manager with EPR, is a native of Hanover County, and he's a graduate of Patrick Henry High School. So again, he brings that unique perspective to the project as well. So first, we want to get to know you all more and learn about those that are participating in tonight's meeting. First off, let us know what magisterial district you live in, and we'll start with this first poll question. There are 7 magisterial districts in the county, which are shown on the map. If you don't know your magisterial district, you can answer unsure. If you aren't a resident, please indicate that you do not live here. So again, indicate where you live. If you participated in the in-person open houses, you answered this question at the sign-in desk. At those in-person meetings that were held earlier this month, we had 178 attendees. So thank you all if you were at those meetings as well. All right, we'll close the poll question in a few more seconds. All right, so about 70% of y'all have answered so far, and it looks like there is a tie so far between the Beaver Dam and Ashland districts. We also have some representatives from the South Anna, Mechanicsville, and Hendry voting districts. And again, at the open houses held earlier this month, we had participants from throughout the county. All right, we have one last introductory poll question, just to get a sense of how familiar you are with the comp plan. So we'll open the second poll question. Answer yes if you had heard about the comp plan before, or no if you're new to this comp plan process and hadn't heard or worked with the comp plan much until tonight's meeting. All right, so we'll give everyone a couple more seconds. All right, so it looks like most people have answered the question, so we will go ahead and end the poll. And it seems like a lot of you all are familiar with the comp plan or have worked on it in the past. 73% said yes. We do have some folks that are not familiar, which is it's great to have you involved in the process for the first time. And I'll go into an overview of what the comp plan is and how you can be involved moving forward. So again, I'll start with an overview of the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan or comp plan serves as a long-range guide for growth and development throughout Hanover County. It specifies general areas where growth should occur and identifies locations that should remain rural and be preserved. It is one of several tools that the county uses to manage growth. The plan is called comprehensive because it addresses a variety of topics, including land use, transportation, community facilities, housing, historic resources, and environmental resources. The plan includes strategies that, if implemented, will help Hanover County realize its long-term vision and goals related to growth and development. The plan is important because it's referenced by the Planning Commission, the Board of Supervisors, and other stakeholders as decisions are made regarding the future. For example, the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors consider the plan's recommendations when evaluating rezoning requests and other zoning applications. Again, the plan is intended to guide those decisions. As I mentioned, the comprehensive plan is one of the tools that localities in Virginia are empowered to use to manage growth. Zoning is another related but separate tool. The comprehensive plan is an advisory document. It does not establish laws or regulations generally, but includes recommendations that are considered as zoning cases and land use proposals are reviewed. It does not change existing legal land rights. Here's an example. If a property is zoned commercial right now, but the comprehensive plan recommends that it be used for residential purposes, the property owner can still use the site for business uses as permitted in the zoning ordinance. So in short, the comprehensive plan is an advisory document, but the zoning ordinance is law. Ideally, those regulations in the zoning ordinance reflect recommendations made in the comprehensive plan. The current comprehensive plan was adopted in February 2018 and plans for a 20-year horizon. That particular plan, which is currently in effect, looked at the years from 2017 to 2037. Envision Hanover is the current process for updating the 2018 plan. We don't anticipate throwing out the current plan and starting from scratch, but updating that document to reflect feedback received from stakeholders during the public engagement process and changes in the community that have occurred since 2018. Per state code, every locality in Virginia is required to have a comprehensive plan, and it must be reviewed every 5 years. Since the current plan was adopted in 2018, the goal is to adopt an updated plan in 2023. So that's why we're going through this process and launching it now. Hanover County has a long history of planning. In terms of comprehensive planning, it's been planning for 50 years, with the first comprehensive plan being adopted in 1972. Envision Hanover will be the 9th update since that original plan was adopted. A lot of the tenants that are in the 2018 plan are expected to be in Envision Hanover plan date back to the 1980s. Since the 1980s, all versions of the comprehensive plan have directed growth to the suburban service area, which is where utilities and other infrastructure exist or are planned to accommodate higher intensity development. Accommodating approximately 70% of growth within the suburban service area is intended to ensure that infrastructure is provided in an efficient and fiscally responsible way, and that the majority of the county retains its rural character. Right now, in the 2018 plan, 22% of the county is within the suburban service area where that growth is intended to be directed, with 78% of the county intended to remain rural. So we are currently in the early stages of the planning process for Envision Hanover. This planning process is expected to take about a year and a half. There will be multiple opportunities for public engagement throughout this multi-year planning process. Right now, we're in phase 1 of public engagement, where we are working with the community to identify local needs and help develop an overall vision statement. Again, we held the in-person open houses earlier this month where we got some public feedback. And we also have a survey open, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. For much of 2022, we're going to take a deeper dive into each of the topic areas addressed in the plan, including land use, transportation, housing, and resiliency. We aim to have a draft plan in early 2023 that reflects all of this input received and all the various topics addressed in the comprehensive plan, with the Board of Supervisors holding a public hearing in summer of 2023. The comprehensive plan is an official policy document, and as such, it must be adopted by the Board of Supervisors. While staff and the Planning Commission will help draft the document based on feedback received, the final content must be approved by the Board of Supervisors. The plan update will be developed based upon feedback received from residents, businesses, landowners, elected and appointed officials, and other community members. There will be multiple opportunities for feedback over the next 18 months, including public meetings and surveys. The feedback received will be analyzed and categorized into different themes. This analysis will be used to develop an overarching vision statement and goals and recommendations related to each of the topic areas within the comprehensive plan. So as part of the planning process, we have to consider current conditions and possible future trends. So now we're going to shift from talking about what the comprehensive plan is and the planning process to look at some of the existing conditions in the community that will be considered. We'll start this segment of the presentation with a poll question. What do you think the annual growth rate was between 2010 and 2020 based upon US Census data? This would be the overall growth rate for the entire county. So we'll go ahead and open that poll question, and you can take a guess of what you think the growth rate was based on your experience living and working and driving around the county. So again, this is based on data from the 2020 census. Some information from that 2020 census, including these population numbers, was just released this past fall, and more information from that census effort is being released over time. So we have about 2/3 of you all responding so far. So we'll give it another 10 seconds and then we'll close this poll. All right, so we'll go ahead and close the poll question. It looks like most people feel like the growth rate has been about 3% each year over the past 10 years. We'll actually look at what the actual numbers were. So the correct response was about 1%. So between 2010 and 2020, the annual growth rate has been 1.01%. Hanover County grew from just under 100,000 people in 2010 to almost 110,000 people in 2020. So that is an increase of about 10,000 people over 10 years. So again, that growth rate was about 1% over the past 10 years. So that's how we've grown in the past. There are different groups that make projections about how Hanover County may grow in the future. Continued population growth is expected, but it's not anticipated that the population will grow at a rapid pace over the next 20 to 25 years that are in the planning horizon for Envision Hanover. The Weldon Cooper Center is responsible for developing the official population projections for the state, and that group anticipates that the population will grow 16% from 2020 to 2040 to about 132,000 people from the 110,000 people we have now. That's what that chart on the left side of the slide is showing. That projected growth rate over the next 20 years is slightly lower than the projected growth rate of Henrico County and the Richmond region overall, but it is significantly lower than some of our neighboring localities, such as Caroline, New Kent, and Spotsylvania counties. The consultant team, as part of the Envision Hanover process, is developing custom population projections for this project, which are expected to be posted on the website in March for the public to review. In terms of the age of our population, Hanover County has a slightly older population than the region as a whole. It's expected that the population will continue to age during the planning horizon, which may result in smaller household sizes and generate a need for different housing options throughout the county. In terms of housing, the county has a higher share of owner-occupied units and a lower percentage of rental units than most of its peer communities. Home ownership rates here in Hanover County tend to be higher than the region overall. The only peer community that had a higher home ownership rate is New Kent County. According to the American Community Survey, the median home value throughout the county is $282,900, which is higher than many of our neighboring localities. And then finally, in terms of our economic health and well-being, the county as a whole has a higher median household income than peer communities and one of the lowest poverty rates of its neighbors. So these are just some of the facts that are being compiled and considered as we enter into this planning process. All of this information and additional data is being compiled into an existing conditions report, which will be posted online this month for you to review and reference. So as I mentioned, there's a variety of different ways to get involved in this first phase of public engagement. We had the in-person open houses early in the month, this presentation, and we also have a survey that's available online. A link to the visioning survey is available at the project website, envisionhanover.com. That survey opened early in February and will be closing this Friday in March. So if you haven't taken the survey yet, or you want some of your neighbors to take the survey, please do that this week. That survey offers an opportunity to let you share your vision for the future. The questions in this survey mirror questions asked in the in-person open houses held earlier this month if you attended those. Stay tuned for more surveys, as the visual preference survey, which focuses on land use and design, is expected to launch in March. So again, this visioning survey will close on Friday, and then later in the month, we'll have another survey open that focuses on different issues. To stay up to date on all of the progress being made in this planning effort and ways you can get involved, check the project website, which is again, envisionhanover.com. On the website, you can sign up for an email list, which we have about 400 members right now. At the bottom of the website, there are links to different social media pages that you can follow as well. We have a Twitter, Instagram, Facebook page that are regularly updated with new information. So thank you for joining today and participating in the presentation. Now we'll shift from the presentation to the question and answer session. So please put any questions you have in the chat. Our team member is monitoring the chat right now, and myself and our planning director, Dave Maloney, will answer any questions you may have. So again, put your questions in the chat, and Gretchen Biernot, our current planning manager, will read those questions out to us.
Andrew, we have one question from Jerry. He is asking, is there a targeted renter occupied metric?
Thank you. That's a great question. This is David Maloney, Planning Director. At this time, we do not have any sort of metrics targeting any desired balance between renter and owner-occupied housing. We will be delving into housing policies as part of this update. One of the state code requirements for comprehensive plans is to include a housing element, and we will be working with the community as we develop that later in this process. But at this point, we do not have a target mix between renter and occupied units.
All right, we have another question from Christopher. He is asking, are you able to email the presentation out?
Yeah, we can put that on our project website later this week. We have on the project website a page called Project Resources, and that page, as the process continues to go on, we'll have information from the different meetings and public engagement events that we offer. So we can put this presentation and make it available on that Project Resources page later in the week. We'll also have a recording of this presentation as well available, so people can watch that at their leisure.
We have a question from Charles. Might the comp plan update include a glossary of recognized land use terms?
You know, that is a great idea. I think we had discussed including that. That's something we certainly need to give consideration to. As planners, it's very easy for us to use professional jargon. That is not our intent. We want to make the plan clear. And so to the extent we have specialized terms, that is certainly something that should be in the plan. So thank you, Charles.
All right, we have another question from Jerry. What are the top questions you have right now that you'd really like early feedback on from the population?
I'm not sure we really have a top question, and I may hand this off to Andrew as well to answer. One of the issues that we're really trying to delve into with this particular update is more attention and focus on the rural areas of the county. And we'd really like to hear from our citizens as to how they envision Hanover County's rural areas and what it means to be rural. That can have a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people. And so that's certainly a question we're going to be wrestling with early in the process. And Andrew, do you have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think one of the main purposes of this initial phase of public engagement is to really figure out what those key questions are and what those key issues are we need to address as we delve into the different topic areas. So through the survey and the open houses, we're helping identify strengths and weaknesses or areas that could be improved. And again, as Mr. Maloney mentioned, we'll be looking at what is rural and how do we define that in the context of Hanover County. So the short answer is we don't have the key questions yet that we'd like to ask the public. We're really intending this initial phase to be used to help us identify those key issues. So once we have all the comments from the survey that closes on Friday, we'll compile those and analyze those with all the comments we received at the in-person open houses. And that will help us identify the key questions that we'll be looking to answer as we delve into the different topic areas of the plan.
Martha is asking, who will be involved in developing strategies for moderate or modest income housing?
Certainly, we're going to reach out to the building community. The board is forming a community participation team, which will be comprised of each member of the planning commission, as well as a citizen representative from each magisterial district, and we'll be using them as a sounding board as well. And everything we do involving this plan, we're going to be seeking significant input from the public. We'll be having a series of meetings and workshops on each section of the plan as we develop those sections. And so it's really going to be a broad input from industry professionals, certainly our citizens, as well as the community participation team.
We have another question on housing from Lee. Will you try to increase new home development that includes more one-story homes?
I'm not sure we're going to have specific policies as to the type of homes. Some of that's going to be market driven, but there are a couple policies related to new residential development that I think we're going to want to consider. One is the concept of aging in place, encouraging developers to design new homes so that residents can live in those homes for extended periods of time as they age. We're going to want to ensure that, as we do now, that the homes are built of quality and sustainable materials using sustainable practices. So in terms of a specific type of home, I'm not sure that's something we're going to be addressing in the plan, but certainly quality housing, aging in place, sustainability are all topics that we'll be identifying as we focus on that section of the plan.
We have another question from Charles. Is it relevant to include a chapter on transportation options like electric vehicles and electric vehicle charging stations. Might chapter detail special district classifications for electric vehicle stations and roads with dedicated RV lanes?
At this point, I don't think we're going to have a chapter on EV and alternate transportation technologies. To the extent we address those, I believe they'll be included in the existing transportation or the soon-to-be developed and updated transportation section. Certainly consideration of emerging technologies and how that impacts our roads will have to be taken into consideration. Obviously, with limited road improvement funds available through federal, state, and local sources, we have to ensure that the transportation network is viable for all vehicles likely to use the roads over the next 20 years. But to the extent that special considerations need to be given for emerging technologies, that's something that we very may well look into in more detail.
Rachel has a question. What types of conservation measures are you considering?
I'm not sure we have anything specific in mind. Part of that is going to revolve around our discussion on rural preservation. We already have certain conservation and open space measures in place through our rural conservation zoning district, as well as our A1 cluster provisions, allowing property owners by right to develop land in a by right density, but retain a certain amount of open space. Clearly, sustainability is going to be a important chapter in this plan. We will be having a dedicated chapter on sustainability and hazard mitigation. And so as we get closer to developing that chapter, I think we'll be able to identify more specific measures that may be applicable to Hanover County.
Jerry has a general comment on community character. He says, while I appreciate the protection of the more rural areas of Hanover, as a resident of Mechanicsville, I'm hoping that Mechanicsville doesn't become a designated urban area, changing the character of this portion of Hanover.
Mechanicsville, the Mechanicsville Magisterial District and Old Mechanicsville proper are really more the more densely and fully developed portions of the county. I don't anticipate any changes that would fundamentally change the character of the larger Mechanicsville area.
Brian has a question. Will this comp plan have any impact on existing projects in the pipeline?
I would not foresee that, no.
Patty has a question. Will the comp plan include robust and more specific language to drive ordinances for stronger environmental site standards for both the suburban service area and the rural areas of the county?
Here again, I think those are going to be issues that will be addressed in more detail through the update to our land use chapter, as well as our sustainability and hazard mitigation chapter. So I'm not prepared to identify specific changes, but certainly there will be an emphasis on sustainability and environmental preservation.
Charles is asking, might there be comp plan updates addressing alternative energy options, addressing solar facilities and wind facilities? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, the short answer is yes. And again, I know I'm throwing a lot into the sustainability chapter. It may play out a little bit differently, but we anticipate that solar and renewable energy will be a significant component of that chapter as well. Here again, this is preliminary. We've identified the topic areas and the potential chapters. Once we get deeper into these topics, particularly the sustainability and hazard mitigation chapter, which will be new to this plan. It's possible that we may break that out into a couple different chapters to cover those very broad topics. So we'll just kind of have to work through this process and see how it plays out. But the short answer is we do expect solar and renewables to be in a significant way be incorporated into this update.
Lee is asking, will you change residential building codes so homes can't be built extremely close to each other? Some of the homes in Timberlake Commons on 301 are so close to each other, it looks almost like you could reach out from one home and touch the other.
There's no question that the shape of or the aesthetic of development in Hanover County does look very dense. One of the factors that creates that impression is Hanover County in our rural suburban subdivision zoning districts, we do have certain open space requirements. It can range anywhere from 15 to 20% open space. And there's a formula in the ordinance where that's evaluated on a case-by-case basis. But as we encourage the creation of open space inside a residential development, it obviously squeezes the balloon and provides less area to actually build homes. We know that density is going to be an issue. We know aesthetics are going to be an issue. It's something we're going to be taking a look at. But here again, I think it's too early in the process to speculate on how that matter is addressed or resolved.
We have no more questions at this time. Oh, here we go. Never mind. We have a question from Michael. Are there any plans to update existing or build any new schools in the Western Hanover region?
The short answer is the county administrator in the budget presentation to the board has identified long-term capital improvements for the schools. Again, they are contained in the proposed budget that was presented, and I would encourage you to go to the Hanover County website, hanovercounty.gov, and review the budget proposal presented by the county administrator. That presentation is also available to view online if you go to the Board of Supervisors past and upcoming meeting link on the Board of Supervisors page.
Michael is also asking, will the county be updating residents on the progress of the broadband internet initiative financed through the CARES Act, and where can that information be found?
Here again, I believe there is information on the Hanover County website, so I would encourage you to look at that. But yes, there will be periodic updates as the broadband initiative continues to be implemented.
A question from Lee. Any plans to bring Verizon Fios in to provide competition rather than Comcast having a monopoly?
That's a question that we get a lot. We know there are a number of citizens that are interested in increased competition for internet and cable services within the county. We often hear comments or perception that for some reason Hanover County is blocking Verizon. Verizon is welcome to expand their network into and Fios expand their network into Hanover County. We do not control broadband internet service, and so that's really a business decision that Verizon Fios has made not to extend. It is not a policy or an initiative by Hanover County to exclude them.
We have a process question from Rachel. How are you going to ensure or demonstrate that feedback and input given by citizens is implemented?
Well, the first step in that is sort of defining and refining the nature of the input. We had over 1,000 comments at the 3 open houses. We are in the process of transcribing those pretty much verbatim and categorizing them by topic or issue area. Once that process is complete, that information will be posted on the Hanover County or on the Envision Hanover website. The survey, the online survey is closing Friday. And so we'll take those responses and include them in that summary as well. So all the comments that we've received will be posted on envisionhanover.com. And obviously, there are going to be some outlier positions given. We do not envision redrafting this plan, as Andrew pointed out earlier in his presentation. This is going to be an adjustment to our existing policies. We're not starting with a blank sheet of paper, but we do know that there are issues that need to be addressed that currently aren't addressed, and we're prepared to do that.
Martha is asking that we clarify if East Ashland will be acted on outside of the comprehensive plan process.
The board's direction to staff and authorizing the comprehensive plan amendment for the East Ashland Hickory Grove area was to proceed in advance of the comprehensive plan. And my staff and I actually had a meeting with Nora Amos with the town of Ashland and her staff today to begin looking at that process. They too are updating not only their overall plan, but a plan for the East Ashland area. And it's important that both the county and Ashland go through their respective processes in a coordinated manner.
We have no other questions at this time.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us. And again, it seems like many of you all have specific interests in specific topics. So please, if you haven't already, sign up for the email list on envisionhanover.com so that you can receive updates as we move further along in the process and again, focus on those different topical areas moving forward. So again, this presentation will be posted online for you all to review, as well as the PowerPoint. And so you can share that with your friends. And again, if you haven't done so, please complete the survey by Friday when it closes. And I think, David, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, first off, I want to thank everybody for their continued interest in the comprehensive plan. It's been a priority from the start of this update process to garner as much public input and interest as reasonably possible. The planning staff, along with our consultant, have done a great job in developing outreach measures. It's been very successful, and we really genuinely appreciate all the input that we have received so far. And I would just encourage each and every one of you to stay involved. Please visit the website frequently. If you have any input on the plan, questions, comments, whatever, we have the comment section on the website. And of course, you're more than welcome and encouraged to reach out to Andrew, Gretchen, or myself. So just thank everybody for your participation, and we really look forward to having a continued dialogue over the next year and a half as we develop the plan. Again, thank you all. And with that, that will conclude the presentation and the workshop. And I hope everybody has a good evening. Thank you. Good night.